Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Sean Lang. I've spent the last several years building and operating a digital agency that's grown past 50 people, and that's shaped how I think of the decisions that really matter when you want to start building something important and when it starts to get complex. Now, before we begin, just a reminder that we've got a free community with tons of helpful agency resources, templates, AI tools like custom GPTs, etc. That's available at agencyuplift.co/group, and I'd love to see you in there. Okay, enough about that. Today is another sort of consultation style episode. I don't know if you remember the previous one with Nick, but I thought that it was a really interesting format. I think that there's a lot of insight for people to gain from hearing where other people are at in their journey and sort of the challenges that they're dealing with. And so I thought that we'd try it again. So today, I am joined by Benas Leonavicius. I hope I said that right. I've been stressing that.
That's perfect.
Stressing the entire time here. He is an SEO expert of over 10 years, and he is looking he's looking to go pro. He's looking to start his real agency journey. Benas, great to have you on. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I am an SEO expert, and sort of I got into digital marketing back in like university years, and kind of found SEO by accident, fell in love with it, and started learning, started doing my own sites, and then sort of started doing client work, and eventually sort of it evolved into kind of my full-time thing. I never really thought I would sort of go that route, but it just kind of naturally happened, and it's 10 years later now. Now I'm here.
Here we are, yeah, and I think that is a fairly common story for a lot of people who find themselves sort of at this crossroads. Either do I create an agency, or I've already created an agency. How did I get here? So it's a very, very common story. So why don't you tell us? So first off, so you've been in business for a little over 10 years. Tell us, do you have a team that works with you currently?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently building a team. So I do have a digital business manager that works with me for like 3-4 months, something like that. And I'm actually now looking to hire my first SEO person that can actually help me with the delivery of the actual work. I actually hope to hire him or her like somewhere by the end of March, probably beginning of April. I'm currently in a process of actually figuring out and setting up interviews.
Very cool. What does monthly revenue look like right now?
Right now it's around $10,000 per month.
What is your average project size? Is it retainer based, or is it project based, or is it a little bit of both?
It's actually retainer based. So the thing that I offer is organic traffic growth and sort of leads and stuff like that. So I usually don't do any sort of one-time things or one-time projects. Sometimes if I see sort of a good opportunity, I might take it, but usually it's all retainer based. And the average is, I think the average is about like $1,500 per month.
Okay. So that would put you at how many clients currently?
Currently, I do have, I think, around like 6 or 7, something around that.
7 clients.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so walk us through in a little bit more detail, like what is your core offer?
My core, so the thing is, when I started SEO, I kind of, did work with every type of website, from like startup to e-commerce sites to big SaaS projects to complex projects to very small websites. So I think I kind of went the full circle and sort of worked from like gray niches to like very tough niches to very easy ones. And eventually, just by accident, I found keynote speakers as a sort of a client type that I accidentally kind of bumped in, started working with them. I started getting referrals and just noticed that it's way easier to actually help those clients instead of sort of working with a big SaaS project, which usually has big teams, require a lot of my time. It's just much more difficult on my end, and the results, might actually be just as good and the same for one client as another, but one requires just a lot of more time. So eventually, I developed the offer of getting keynote speakers to rank on specific keynote speaking keywords, leadership keynote speaker, innovation keynote speaker. Those are the keywords that actually drive leads for them. Those are the keywords that actually event planners are looking for. Those that provide value. So this is basically what I offer them.
Awesome. So what would you say is like the main promise, and what are the sort of the top pain points that you address?
The main promise is ranking for the keywords. That's the That's the main thing that I kind of drive whenever sort of I talk with keynote speakers, since they don't really need traffic, they don't need really care about the vanity metrics. It's all about just ranking for those specific keywords. So I feel that's the main thing that I always sort of emphasize.
You're helping keynote speakers rank for certain keywords.
Hmm.
What is kind of the main benefit that they get from that? I mean, because the reason they're hiring you is for the benefit. They don't really necessarily care about the
Yeah.
keywords. They care about the benefit overall. So what is the
Hmm.
benefit?
The benefit, so they want to be found for keywords that where event planners are looking for them. So their website is just another way for them to basically promote themselves. I mean, different keynote speakers have sort of different ways of thinking about this, but usually it's either they saw some other keynote speakers ranking high, or they've neglected their website for a very long time, and it's basically they're now getting into this and they want to start ranking on the keywords that either other sort of keynote speakers rank for them, or like other agencies rank, or they basically want to be found for anyone looking for like event planners looking for keynote speakers. There's
Okay.
also another thing where now that the AI search is also sort of being like kind of this new thing. So a lot of people are getting sort of are asking, how do I kind of rank in ChatGPT? How do I rank on AI search? This is sort of still developing an up and coming thing and sort of area, but there is sort of some ways I can also help them with that. It seems like link building and mentions drive the most sort of value in terms of actually ranking on AI search, which is another area where event planners might be looking for keynote speakers.
So ultimately, what they're really looking for at the end of this engagement or through this engagement is they're looking for more bookings, basically, right?
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah, yeah.
Is that something that you track?
No, not actively. So that's kind of that's the thing I actually want to start tracking, because I do see usually the value of one booked event is between like and like $30,000. So
Hmm.
if I can start tracking them, that actually might be very beneficial for me. But the thing is, it's with tracking there is some issues in terms of the way sort of that's set up. But that is the thing that I want to get into, because I do believe that with the right tracking, I can build better case studies. I can actually showcase them better. I know that the thing that they whenever sort of somebody reaches out, it's on keynote speaker side to actually they usually ask where do they find me, and if they say sort of from Google, that's basically their indication that the SEO is working. So it's not a perfect tracking system, since they might be googling this sort of some other things, but it's something that for now sort of works in that way. But tracking is something I want to get into for sure.
Yeah, that sounds already like probably a very large unlock for your sales, for your marketing, for your proof,
Hmm.
for your positioning, for your
Hmm.
pricing. Because if you are able to quantify, if you're able to say the average client experiences like it sounds like a 10x ROAS in the first year is probably very, very underselling it at this point.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
if your average retainer is $1,500 per month, and
Hmm.
somebody can book anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 worth of speaking engagements, maybe potentially from even like 1 month of the retainer, like this is a service that should, if you have the data. I think that's a really important thing, is if you have the data and the
Yeah.
benchmarks, you can say like it in 90% of cases, pays for itself within the first 3 to 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I know from talking with my clients that this is happening, but yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, the tracking data. So this is something that like only sort of realized recently, that is probably very worth it for me to track, because as you said, like the ROI on this thing might be like just insane. So
Which
uh,
means that you're probably vastly underpriced.
yes, yes, that's another thing that kind of I started thinking about, that I might want to change the way I approach this, the pricing and everything. I mean, since I'm kind of moving into sort of building this agency, I want to rework a lot of things. How I do sales, how I do tracking, how I sort of present myself. Maybe even sort of dive in deeper of what is my actual core offer. Because when I'm just a freelancer, my offer is very simple. Hey, let me just rank you on some keywords. Let me get you some organic traffic. And I know it's not the perfect way of doing things. It worked for me for a very long time, but I actually, want to level up and want to build a more robust offer that probably covers more things that keynote speakers care about. And again, if I can also get into tracking, then that might unlock another big possibilities for me.
Not might. No, it will.
Yeah.
100%. I can guarantee it will. It is worth. I use this metaphor a lot on this podcast now because I just think it works so well. When you're in a bicycle race and you're riding your bike and you have flat tires, the idea that you have to get off the bike, stop riding, pump the tires, and get back on, that can feel very, very difficult for us because we're not while we're off the bike and pumping the tires, we're not moving at all, right? And so it's like I can't afford to stop. But if you were to stop, pump the tires, and then get back on the bike and ride, you'll move so much faster. So this, I will say right away, this issue of not having the data, it's worth stopping everything for as long as it takes to solve, whether that's 4 hours a day, a week. It's worth it because there's so much that you can do with it. You are, Benas, you're in a very, very good position right now in that you actually have a fairly tight ICP. You could probably tighten it even more when you figure out which types of keynote speakers. But in this case, just speakers in general, that's a tighter ICP than most agencies that I talk to and that I coach have at all. So the next step is like, okay, so how do I now maximize on that offer? And part of that is we just uncovered is data. You need to get the data, and then you need to allow that data to work for you. And I don't know how much of this podcast you've listened to, but we talk a lot about operationalizing things. So I want to ask you right now, without getting into things into even technical solves. Let's not worry about tech. Let's not worry about AI. Let's not worry about automation. From the most simplest way possible, if I were to force you to do this by the end of the day, how could you operationalize getting that data from your existing clients on a regular basis?
Oh, good question. Very good question. Well, first of all, I suppose the simplest way is basically to, usually, I mean, it's not perfect. That's the thing, but usually people do contact keynote speakers through like contact forms on their website. So, just setting up tracking. I mean, it's also a bit complicated because there are basically every speaker might use different type of software. So tracking might be a little bit complicated.
I'm gonna pause you. I'm gonna pause you.
Yeah.
We're getting into technical. I said, don't even get technical. Don't even get tech here. Can I just throw at you where I would start?
Okay, sure.
How often do you meet with your clients?
Once a month.
Once a month. Okay. So if you meet with them once a month, every month, ask them how many meetings they booked. Just start with that. Get the information, whether you're able to attribute it to you or not. If you can start if you can start at a benchmark, so before a client starts to work with you, just find out how many meetings they booked per month for the last 6 months. So you develop a benchmark. And then when you start working with them, then you get them to continue to report how many meetings they booked for that week. And if you start to see a trend going upward after starting to work with them,
okay.
That's not giving you detailed data, but that is a start. I'm saying rather than trying to engineer the perfect solution, how do we just start getting data in the door? So I would say that would be step one. That's something that you can set up literally after we finish filming this this podcast episode. You can just build that into your workflow. Create a recurring reminder in your calendar to check in with every single client once a month and say, "Oh, just looking for you to report how many meetings you booked," right? Because then you can say to them, "This is letting us know whether we're targeting the right keywords, whether the work that we're doing is being effective. Maybe we could tweak some other stuff." Or they could say, "Oh, you know what? I'm actually now getting contacted more and more by the types of events that I don't want to do." Oh, so then that would actually allow you to pivot your strategy to make your strategy actually more effective versus less effective. So then they start to see the value that you bring, right? And it's just from asking a couple questions. Very, very simple, right? The next step after that, if you want to get technical, is and this is now where it depends, what their tech stack looks like, et cetera. But almost everyone has a form on their website, right, for an inquiry or for ask me, blah, blah, blah. And so you could just ask to either get access to that form or ask to be one of the CC'd emails that every single time that form is filled out, you also get a notification that they got an inquiry so that you can track that in the back end as well. And then you can come to these meetings and you can confirm, say, hey, I noticed you got this many bookings. How many are this many inquiries? How many of these inquiries actually booked? So now you can start to build a very simple model of what the funnel looks like as well. And again, it's simple, but it's just a little bit more data.
Man, it sounds even too simple to work. I mean, I didn't even think about just like gathering data by asking. I was into some I need some technical aspects solved. I need some contact forms
Nope.
integration, something like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you kind of solved it right here and now. I mean,
keep it simple, right? Like we like to design these really, really complex solutions to problems that we tell ourselves are complex, but it's actually it's a very simple solution, or it's a very simple problem. And does this solve the problem outright? No, because as you build what you have, what this is a micro agency. If you build this into an agency, guess what? These problems are going to be harder to solve at scale. But once you actually have a baseline for this is the data that we need and this is the data that we can use and here's how it's helpful, then you can start to build systems around that. Then you can start to come up with more complicated solutions. But at the start, the problem is we don't have data. Solution is get the data. That's it, right?
Exactly. No, this is really good. Okay, this is really good.
I'm a builder. And I love any excuse to go and build something. And then it starts to get more and more complex. And I have found over my 8+ years in the agency space that by the time I'm done building the thing, it's become a monster. It's become this mutant and it never needed to get that big. And by the time it's done, it doesn't even necessarily solve the initial problem, which was I just need a little bit of information. I didn't need the 5 different dashboards. I didn't need all of the N8N flows and the AI. I didn't need that. What I needed was solved with, you have 7 clients. So that's 7 times you're just asking them a couple questions and then that gets you your information.
Yeah. Oh, no, I do agree that we sometimes, for some reason, we humans, we do love to overcomplicate things for the sake probably of just overcomplicating them. And I know I caught myself doing that many, many times, but I am trying to get better at just starting from the basics. But yeah, this is a really good advice to just, start tracking over a couple of months. I'll have enough data to see sort of where the trend lies in, and I can do something with that.
So guess what? If you have the data, then now you can come back and you can start to use that for your offer. So now your offer isn't just I'll help you rank for keywords because you're a keynote speaker. Your offer is it's not about the service. It's about the benefit that the service provides or the outcome. So what do we think that outcome is? Well, the outcome is probably I want to book twice as many speaking engagements next year as I did this year. So then your offer now becomes I help keynote speakers book twice as many speaking engagements within 6 months, or it could be something to do. I help keynote speakers generate an extra $50,000 a year in speaking engagements. And then now you can start to tie some kind of, tie that to a benchmark. You can take that dollar amount and say, well, I'm only charging $2,500 a month, and over an entire year, that's still going to be almost a 2x ROI on the service. You're going to be more visible, and it's going to snowball from there. So now you can charge more because it's tangible, and you're actually reporting on some actual data. So just some very simple. We haven't even gotten into anything, but that's some very simple, low hanging fruit, and it just requires you to have the data. And then also once you have the data. And I think that you should also go back to all of your clients after this and get the data. Like now just ask for the information, get the data. Create a snapshot for every single client of what has happened, what it looked like before they started working with you and what has happened since they started working with you. Because then out of all of your clients, out of your 7 clients, you might have anywhere from 1 to 3 case studies you're sitting on. And then if you can quantify that, you can say, well, how many bookings was that? Okay, well, how much revenue is that? Now you can start to say, I help keynote speakers do X, Y, and Z by blah, 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 blah. And also here are some examples of how it's worked in the past. And then right away now that props up whatever price you're going to charge, because it's not going to be $1,500 a month anymore. It's going to be more because now you're realizing, the service that I provide is 20 to 30xing whatever it is that I'm charging for it. This is actually a much higher value service This is a premium service. This service changes people's lives. This is one thing that I keep coming up against with clients that have like limiting beliefs is you don't
Mhm.
actually understand when you do a good job, the impact you have on a client is you change their life. You change their life. They might have new opportunities. They might have a new career path based on what you do. They might have been able to buy their dream car based on what you do, and they just haven't told you.
Mhm.
They might have bought a new house. They might have hired
Yeah.
5 new employees. It actually changes their life based on the work that you do. If you do a good job, I mean, things don't always work out, obviously, but we need to understand the value that we bring, and that starts with getting the data, get that information.
Nice. Yeah, this is really good. For some reason I was always too stuck on thinking about rankings and keywords, but I mean, only in the last couple of months I'm starting to open up with just how to kind of position myself better, what I'm actually selling, what is actually important. So all these things just are kind of running through my head recently.
So let's talk about a few more things. Where do you currently get leads from?
Like more than half of my business is actually built on referrals. Like it
Okay.
feels that this is what why I actually decided to build this like agency or just focus on keynote speakers instead of going with any other client because it seems like a lot of people that work with me first of all get a lot of value, but also like enjoy working with me, and I got like from just one keynote speaker. I actually got the rest 7 of them. Not like directly, some of them were like, but it's like a web. Like I got referred to another speaker that I work with, then he referred me to another speaker. I actually met another speaker through another speaker. It's crazy how well this whole referral system sort of worked, and I understood why, because they're first of all they're basically they know each other in that industry. They're very sort of extroverted people. They're very well connected people, and it seems that they're very willing to share whatever sort of worked for them, because not since keynote speakers target sort of different usually different topics, they're not really sort of direct competitors. Let's say if I would work with a SaaS founder, another SaaS founder might be, or like an e-commerce brand for example that sells dog food, another sort of dog food owner might be a direct competitor. In this case they're not. So like 60-70% of my business is built on referrals. Other like 30%, around like 30%, it's actually built through selling directly on LinkedIn. I did like a beta test last year to see sort of if this sort of thing works, but I didn't sort of continue since I don't really have time to actually manage more clients. This is kind of partly why I want to sort of build the agency, because I know I think I'm good at selling. It seems like that. Not only just for referrals, but actually like if I need to sort of go and do some cold outreach, I've done sort of a lot of that over the years, and I feel like I want to actually sit and spend half of my time on sales. So it feels like I do see good potential with driving sort of doing cold outreach on LinkedIn. And sort of booking calls and making sales there. So
I have
yeah,
good
this
news
is
for
the
you.
current setup. Yeah.
You know what makes cold outreach on LinkedIn like 5 times as effective?
No.
Having data to back it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course,
It
for
makes
sure.
it makes it much easier. If you've got ROI numbers, if you've got case studies, if you've got examples,
Mhm,
um, if someone is trying to sell to me on LinkedIn and it's just they're trying to sell to me and that's it, I'm not going to
mhm,
engage. But if they send me a
mhm,
resource, if they send me proof, if they send me information, I'm talking to them. Even if I'm not planning on buying,
mhm.
I'm talking to them. And the more I start to see the proof, the more I start to say, well, okay, maybe. Okay. I mean, I'll just, and it starts to,
Yeah.
it opens up the gates because it creates trust. So you have all of these referrals. Do you ask for these referrals or do these referrals?
No, no, I never
Oh,
asked for. Yeah,
okay.
I
Okay.
never asked
Again,
for any of them.
not very common unless you're crushing it. So that tells me that there's a lot of opportunity there as well, because what would referrals look like if we now operationalized referrals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If
This is what I'm thinking. Yeah, for sure. Because I noticed that it's I never asked for any of the referrals. All of them kind of happened very very naturally. I basically just get an email out of nowhere saying, "Hey, I talked with this. Had a breakfast or whatever with this other person. Told you about them. You two like have a chat, and then we kind of take it from there." So I do. I'm not sure what exactly to do, but I know that I want to be way more proactive with actually sort of building some sort of a system where I can ask for referrals. I mean,
Yep.
the most simple one is just email people sort of probably that I've been working for like 3 to 6 months with, and we have some great results and stuff like that, and sort of ask them there. But yeah, I probably want to sort of figure out what is the sort of the best way of handling this.
Okay. So I've got some ideas. So
Hmm.
there's referrals, but what is even sometimes easier, not always, but what is sometimes easier to do, or what comes before referrals is testimonials. What are you doing for testimonials right now?
I do have this like app where I kind of collect testimonials. I do have like some of them. It's basically just an app where can upload a photo, have your text, some. I don't know. I don't think I have any videos yet, but it's only like text based.
So every Benas, everything is pointing back to data. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you have been working with a client for 3 months and you see that their bookings have increased by 25%, 30%, 40%, what have you, then that is a very, very good point to say, hey, this seems to be working pretty well. We've hit that first milestone that we talked about when we
Hmm.
first signed on. If I sent you a quick little testimonial form, would you fill it out? And they'd be like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
well, because we're talking about a win. If we're
Yeah.
riding high on a win, we're feeling happy about it. I'd for sure be happy to send you a testimonial. A side note: if you're not using the tool Senja for testimonials,
That's the one I'm using.
good,
That's the one I'm
good.
using.
So
Yeah.
I would disable the text and just make it video only. First off, they're keynote speakers. They
Mm-hmm.
want to be in front of camera, the camera and people
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So then send them the Senja, and after they send a beautiful testimonial, you watch it and you thank them for it, and you say, "This is fantastic," um, uh, and then you say, almost every client that I get comes from a referral from a client like you where things are working. Is there anyone that you would be happy to introduce me to? And then again, this is just us in a
Mm-hmm.
very simple way operationalizing it. So we use the data to tell us, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're winning, we're hitting our goals. This is a good time to ask for a testimonial. They give us a great testimonial. Well, they gave us such a good testimonial. This is a great time to ask if they'd introduce us to somebody else who could potentially use our services. And you just operationalize it. You just identify these points. This might be typical based on your data once you have it. It might be typical that this happens at month 2 or month 3 or month 6 or what have you. And then you now feel you have the confidence to ask because you know that you're providing value, but you can't know that you're providing value until you have the data first, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I all of these things. I think that this is what kind of made me finally, because I was at some point, like maybe like 5 years ago, I was at the decision of like, oh, should I, continue to do freelancing or should I build an agency? And at that time, I felt like I had like this like old school thinking of the agency that I need an office, that I need like 20 people working. It's just I had it sort of all backwards, and I made a decision not to actually pursue that. I mean, but it also kind of made sense then because I was working with like different clients. I didn't see how in every possible way I can just start to systemize and make structure of it. But once I started working with keynote speakers, I actually saw that a lot of things can actually become systems because it's the same client type. It's basically the same project. It's
mhm.
it's almost the identical, like very similar keywords. And then once I kind of saw how these referrals sort of work, how sort of these clients sort of act and behave, and how they sort of value what I do, I think what you're saying, I kind of have everything in the back of my head, and and basically this kind of pushed me to, okay, I need to basically make this into an agency, because if I'm doing this alone and I'm sort of doing this, I think I can do like, 3 to 4x easily by just implementing, testimonials, referrals, like having case studies, like just having, of course, people that can actually help me deliver the work so that I can actually take on more clients. So it's when this it opened my eyes that I have to get help. I have to basically start hiring so that I can, start working on these things that I previously didn't sort of have time or didn't seem like a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Great takeaways. I was going to ask you what your takeaways were, but you laid it out very, very plainly. That's awesome. We are at time. I feel like we could probably go deep into your business for another hour. This was just the low hanging fruit, just at the start. But
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this episode, this conversation, and I think we're going to have to do a follow up in about 6 months and see what you implemented, see where you're at, see what the effect was, because now I guarantee the entire audience is rooting for you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, actually, I think it would be very, very cool to do an update sometime, like in 6 months or something like that. Yeah, to see sort of
Awesome.
where it's going. Because I think this year I want to sort of build the agency. Next year it's all about the scaling. So it's really looking forward to the next 6 months.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on. Where can people find out more about you?
It's either my website, benasleo.com, or my YouTube channel, because I'm thinking of documenting my marketing building journey there. So if anybody wants to follow there, feel free to go to my YouTube channel and you can follow along.
Awesome. Well, you just got a new subscriber.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care.